At that point, the game is tied 17-17, and you're unhappy with that.
I'm unhappy because he took a sack that could have caused them not to tie it. Like this, they're lucky that they got that off.
Come on, you guys. You're sounding ridiculous, Nick. Come on. He's a third-round rookie, and it's playing his fifth game of his life in the NFL, and you're quibbling that he was lucky to get that.
The NFL woke up stunned as a new wave of controversy erupted across the league. And this time, it came from a voice nobody expected to jump into the chaos. Former NFL head coach Jon Gruden has reportedly entered the conversation surrounding the Cleveland Browns and their quarterback situation, calling for Kevin Stefanski to be replaced and demanding that Shedeur Sanders finally be given the opportunity fans believe he deserves. This isn't just a random social media rumor or a casual comment from a retired coach. Gruden's stance hit the league like a lightning bolt because it added fuel to an already explosive storyline. The growing frustration over how Stefanski has handled Shedeur's development, practice reps, and path toward becoming a full-time contributor.
As of right now, Kevin Stefanski name coming up for other jobs like OC jobs. He done. He ain't no shaking this, ain't no if and buts about it. Kevin is up out of there. And me personally, I feel like we won't see Shedeur. I'm just starting to feel that way. I think it's 7 to 8 games left or something like that. Don't hold me on that. If they lose this one, they have to play Shedeur. Really, them losing to the Jets, they should have been playing Shedeur this upcoming week. No question about it. The Jets was the worst team in all of the NFL. They should have been playing Shedeur Sanders this week against the Raiders.
Gruden's comments instantly amplified tensions that were already brewing inside Cleveland's facility. For weeks, insiders have been hinting that the coaching staff was divided, the reps weren't balanced, and the offensive direction lacked unity. But the moment a former head coach, especially one with Gruden's experience and personality, stepped into the discussion, the issue went from a local Cleveland debate to a national storyline. Reporters across the league began covering it. Analysts turned the topic into multi-segment breakdowns. Fans across all 32 teams weighed in, saying this situation exposed deeper problems with the Browns' leadership.
But first, we got to jump into the hottest story of the day. That is former NFL coach Jon Gruden. Well, Jon Gruden went on record and said that he would like to coach in New York.
That don't make sense. And Tony brought this up a couple weeks ago. Once your coach starts not making sense, that's the beginning of the end. I don't know what Kevin's doing. This is a side of Kevin I've never seen.
Already his name's coming out for other jobs.
He is.
Kevin Stefanski is going to sink the ship. He don't give a damn about the team. He know he getting fired.
The shocking part isn't just that Gruden spoke up. It's how he framed his opinion. According to reports, he criticized Stefanski's conservative offensive approach, questioned why Shedeur wasn't receiving the reps a young quarterback needs to develop, and argued that Stefanski's system seems designed to protect the status quo rather than elevate new talent. Whether fans agree with Gruden or not, one thing is clear. His voice carries weight. He's coached generational players, built competitive offensive systems, and understands how quarterback development works inside the NFL ecosystem. And now he's calling out the Browns directly. Fans who already believed Stefanski's decisions were holding the team back immediately rallied behind Gruden's message. They flooded timelines, comment sections, and talk shows with one theme. If someone with Gruden's background sees the problem, then the problem must be real. The debate instantly escalated. Was Stefanski clinging to a veteran-centric playbook? Was he refusing to adapt to the modern quarterback style? Or was this simply another case of mismanagement inside a franchise with a rocky history at the position?
Entire National Football League, and that is Cleveland's own Kevin Stefanski. Now, Kevin Stefanski is vowing to all of Cleveland Dog Pound Nation that he will not be playing Shedeur Sanders. He will remain keeping Dylan Gabriel as the starting quarterback. Now, we all know people from land to land, coast to coast, is pissed off with this news, bruh, because he wrapped up a press conference today and he stated once again
What makes this situation even more explosive is how the Browns handled their quarterback room leading up to this moment. There were no clear explanations, no commitment to transparency, no honest breakdown of why Shedeur wasn't getting meaningful reps in practice. So when Gruden stepped in, the league finally got something it hadn't had all season: a blunt, unapologetic critique from someone who knows the system inside and out. This wasn't a random shot. It was a targeted strike at the way the Browns are functioning behind closed doors. And according to the reaction across the NFL, the impact has only just begun. Once the story gained traction, analysts began breaking down Jon Gruden's criticism line by line, highlighting how it exposed deeper issues within the Browns' coaching structure. The core of Gruden's argument revolves around one thing: opportunity. According to him, Shedeur Sanders isn't being held back because of performance, he's being held back because of coaching philosophy.
Playing Shedeur Sanders. Now let's pull up this Jon Gruden post, man. So this is the post right here that is making headlines. That is former NFL coach Jon Gruden said, I could turn that thing around, that entire franchise around with Shedeur Sanders. And guys, the people have spoken. Somebody said he was proud to spew. No, we're going to skip past that. We're going to skip that comment. But I'm telling you right now, Shedeur Sanders is the guy, bro.
Gruden suggested that Stefanski's offensive system is too rigid for a quarterback like Shedeur, a player whose strengths rely on quick decision-making, timing, mobility, and improvisation. Instead of tailoring the offense to the young quarterback, Stefanski appears committed to maintaining a predictable, veteran-friendly structure that limits the growth of new talent. This added weight to what fans have been complaining about all season. Even before Gruden's involvement, supporters questioned why Shedeur was receiving limited first-team reps. They pointed out examples from training camp footage, insider reports, and game day decisions where the young quarterback was sidelined in moments where most franchises would be preparing their future leaders. And when Tommy Rees publicly admitted that internal prioritization was affecting Shedeur's development, the situation became impossible for fans to ignore. Gruden's critique also struck a nerve because he touched on the most sensitive subject in Cleveland's football culture: trust. The Browns have struggled for decades to develop a stable quarterback, and fans are exhausted from watching promising players get mismanaged, underdeveloped, or thrown into impossible situations. The moment Gruden suggested that Stefanski wasn't properly nurturing a potential franchise quarterback, the fan base felt validated. It wasn't just speculation anymore. Someone with years of head coaching experience was confirming their fears. National media outlets also latched onto Gruden's statements. Shows across ESPN, FS1, and NFL Network dissected the drama, questioning whether Stefanski's conservative style is outdated in a league dominated by flexible, high-tempo offenses
that don't make sense. And Tony brought this up a couple weeks ago. Once your coach starts not making sense, that's the beginning of the end. I don't know what Kevin's doing. This is a side of Kevin I've never seen.
Already his name's coming out for other jobs.
There you go. If I didn't know better, I think he's going like, you know what? I'm going to go down the way I go down. If they get rid of me, they can get rid of me. I think he's probably had enough here. I do.
Did he get a contract?
I'm not going to.
No,
last year.
Yes.
Last year.
Tony.
You're going to get paid. Going to get paid. I don't think it's about the money with Kevin.
No, but you have security.
I think
you have the security now.
I think he's finally on the app.
Analysts pointed out how the league's most successful franchises, Kansas City, San Francisco, Miami, Houston, Green Bay, all built systems around their quarterbacks instead of forcing quarterbacks to mold themselves into pre-existing systems. And that's the criticism hitting Stefanski the hardest. He seems unwilling to adapt. Gruden's comments forced everyone to ask a bigger question. What is the Browns' long-term plan? Are they trying to win now with a static blueprint, or are they trying to build something sustainable? Because according to Gruden, those strategies don't match, and Shedeur is the one stuck in the middle. His comments created a ripple effect, spreading doubt through fans, reporters, and even former players who now question whether Stefanski is the right leader for a developing quarterback. And once that doubt goes public, it becomes nearly impossible to silence. While the media continued amplifying the controversy, players around the league began weighing in as well. Former quarterbacks, offensive coordinators, and NFL veterans noted that Gruden's critique wasn't just emotional, it was tactical. They agreed that the Browns' offensive system doesn't align with the strengths of a modern quarterback like Shedeur Sanders. They pointed out that quarterbacks with similar styles, timing passers, anticipatory throwers, high IQ processors, thrive when given high-volume reps in practice and tailored schemes. But Shedeur is being asked to adapt to a formula that doesn't maximize his abilities. This raised a deeper question about Stefanski's philosophy. Several analysts noted that Stefanski's identity revolves around controlled offenses, predictable spacing, and scripted execution. That approach works well with certain types of quarterbacks, especially veterans, but it doesn't work with young passers who need creativity, freedom, and repetition to grow. And this is where Gruden's stance becomes particularly impactful. He's one of the few former coaches aggressive enough to say it plainly. Gruden's perspective also reignited discussions about how the Browns handled past quarterbacks. Fans recalled how promising talents in previous years struggled under poor development or lack of support. The idea that history was repeating itself with Shedeur was enough to push the fan base into outrage mode. Once Gruden added fuel to that fire, Cleveland's entire quarterback strategy came under scrutiny. The locker room dynamic became another hot topic. Analysts speculated that if a former head coach is calling out Stefanski publicly, there may be internal acknowledgement within the Browns organization that something is wrong. Players can tell when a quarterback isn't getting meaningful reps. They can tell when the staff is divided. They can tell when politics are influencing decisions. And when players sense those issues, cracks begin forming in team chemistry. Gruden also questioned whether Stefanski's decisions were driven by fear. The fear of a young quarterback outperforming expectations and forcing him to overhaul his established offensive system. That idea struck a chord because it aligns with how fans perceive this situation. Shedeur is being held back not by performance, but by philosophy. Several retired NFL coordinators agreed with Gruden, saying that modern football requires boldness. Conservative coaching won't survive in a league where offenses are faster, smarter, and more adaptable than ever. They emphasized that teams must evolve or get left behind. And right now, in their eyes, the Browns are getting left behind. The more voices chimed in, the more obvious it became that Gruden's comments didn't create the scandal. They unleashed the pressure that had been building beneath the surface for months. This wasn't a spontaneous controversy. It was a structural failure finally exposed. Gruden simply said what many inside the league already believed. With national attention now locked on Cleveland, the discussion shifted from individual criticism toward organizational consequences. What happens when a former NFL head coach publicly demands that a current head coach be replaced? It becomes a league-wide issue. Multiple sports networks began speculating whether Gruden's stance reflects a broader sentiment among coaches around the NFL. If insiders across the league believe Stefanski's approach is flawed, then Cleveland may be forced to consider changes sooner than expected. Gruden's suggestion that Stefanski should be replaced wasn't subtle. It was direct, forceful, and uncompromising. And that boldness caused shockwaves because it implied that the Browns are jeopardizing their future by refusing to give Shedeur Sanders the developmental foundation he needs. Some analysts even argued that Gruden's critique may influence pressure from higher levels, ownership, front office leadership, or the football operations department. The situation is complicated by the fact that Cleveland's offense has been inconsistent despite having weapons. Fans are frustrated with predictable play calling, slow adjustments, and lack of creativity. Gruden's comments validated those frustrations. He essentially said what fans have been yelling at their televisions for seasons. The offense doesn't evolve, it doesn't adjust, it doesn't innovate. And that makes it extremely difficult for a young quarterback to grow. Another angle Gruden emphasized was accountability. He questioned why Stefanski wasn't explaining his decisions transparently, leaving fans in the dark about Shedeur's rep count, the direction of the offense, or the long-term quarterback plan. This lack of clarity created a breeding ground for speculation, and now that Gruden's message went viral, every ambiguous answer Stefanski gives will be picked apart by fans and media alike. The most alarming part for Stefanski is how quickly the narrative has shifted. A month ago, the conversation was about quarterback competition. Now it's about leadership, transparency, and whether the Browns are failing their future star. Gruden's involvement transformed a Cleveland-only storyline into a nationwide conversation about coaching stability. And this pressure doesn't go away. Not when a former coach publicly calls for a job to open. Not when fans feel their frustration is finally being echoed by someone with credibility. And not when analysts begin questioning whether Stefanski has the adaptability required in today's NFL. At this point, the Browns are playing defense, not on the field, but in the public arena. And every day the organization stays silent, the conversation intensifies. Every missed rep becomes evidence. Every poorly executed offensive drive becomes a headline. Every mention of Shedeur Sanders becomes a reminder that the Browns' future is being held hostage by indecision. Gruden didn't just criticize, he triggered an NFL-wide audit of the Browns' coaching direction. As the scandal continues to grow, fans are now demanding what Gruden called for: change. Some want Stefanski replaced, others simply want Shedeur to receive the reps he deserves. But everyone agrees that the current situation is unsustainable. You can't have a young quarterback with high potential being sidelined while national media, former coaches, analysts, and fans all call out the same issue. The disconnect between Shedeur's talent and his opportunity has now become the biggest storyline in Cleveland. Gruden's comments also reignited debate over how NFL teams evaluate young quarterbacks. Many franchises still cling to outdated development systems, forcing rookies to sit behind veterans without receiving meaningful reps. But the modern NFL doesn't operate like that anymore. Teams that take risks, even uncomfortable risks, often end up with long-term success. And that's the point Gruden hammered home. He argued that Shedeur's skill set is being wasted, not because he isn't ready, but because the staff refuses to give him the tools to get ready. Former players backed this argument with their own experiences. Many pointed out that the transition from college to the NFL is only successful when coaches invest in their quarterbacks early. Limited reps don't build confidence. Limited reps don't build chemistry. Limited reps don't build leadership. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is trapped in a cycle of limited development caused by what Gruden describes as poor decision-making. The Browns fan base reacted intensely to this conversation. Local radio shows were flooded with callers demanding answers. Cleveland sports pages ran polls asking whether Stefanski should step aside. Videos went viral showing fans breaking down every moment Shedeur wasn't utilized on the practice field. Some supporters even began circulating side-by-side comparisons of Stefanski's system versus modern offenses, highlighting how old-school the Browns appear compared to the rest of the NFL. From a league-wide perspective, Gruden's comments also sparked conversations about his own future. Some speculated whether he was positioning himself for a return to coaching. Others believed he simply wanted to support a young quarterback he saw potential in. Regardless of his intentions, the impact is undeniable. The Browns' coaching issues are now an NFL headline, not a local one. For Stefanski, this means pressure like he has never seen before. Every future decision he makes regarding Shedeur will be watched, analyzed, and criticized. Every game plan will be measured against Gruden's critique, and every press conference will be judged not for what he says, but for what he doesn't say. Stefanski isn't just coaching a team anymore, he's coaching under an avalanche of expectations. And the longer this tension continues, the more dangerous it becomes for the Browns' stability. Now the Browns find themselves in the middle of the biggest internal storm of their season. Jon Gruden's comments didn't create the controversy, they exposed it. They brought the entire situation into the national spotlight, forcing everyone from fans to analysts to evaluate whether the coaching staff is holding back a quarterback who could change the future of the franchise. And as the pressure builds, the Browns must confront the reality that they can't hide behind silence anymore. This scandal reveals a deeper truth about modern NFL culture. Organizations can no longer keep behind-the-scenes decisions quiet once public voices begin calling them out. Transparency is no longer optional. Fans demand honesty. Analysts demand explanation. And former coaches like Gruden are willing to challenge decisions openly when something feels off. That's what happened here. A coaching philosophy clashed with a young quarterback's development, and instead of staying contained in Cleveland, the conflict exploded onto national platforms. The Browns now face three choices. 1. Stay the course and risk stalling Shedeur's development. 2. Adjust the offensive philosophy to match modern quarterback needs. 3. Consider leadership changes before damage becomes irreversible. None of these options come without consequences, but the worst option, the one the fan base fears most, is doing nothing. Because every day Shedeur Sanders remains underutilized, the Browns lose opportunities to build chemistry, confidence, and consistency within their offense. The most interesting part of this situation is that Gruden may have unintentionally unified the fan base. For the first time this season, supporters, analysts, and even former players are aligned in their message. Shedeur needs real reps, real development, real trust. And if the Browns want to evolve into a competitive offense in today's NFL, they must embrace the reality that young quarterbacks need opportunity, not protection from opportunity. Gruden's comments may have sounded aggressive, but they reflect a truth the league has accepted. The teams that thrive are the teams that take risks. Playing it safe is no longer a winning formula. And right now, the Browns are playing it safe at the worst possible position. Whether Stefanski survives this storm is unknown. Whether Shedeur finally gets meaningful reps is also unknown. But one thing is certain, Gruden's challenge created a turning point. The Browns can't go back to silence, not after the entire NFL has begun watching. This controversy will shape Cleveland's season. and possibly its future. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more deep dive NFL stories, quarterback analysis, and real-time updates.